Hi, everybody. Mike Shope with Adam Krautwurst. We have a very special guest, perhaps even recognizable. Wait, Adam already wrote his name on the shirt. This is a giveaway. Scott Fish is with us in the deep end. So it's August, and Adam and I are on our way to Canton for the expo. And I have like 6 comfortable shirts anymore. I mean, quarantine, everything is t-shirts. It's 80 and sunny even here mid-October in Western New York. So I told Adam the challenge for packing for that trip was half of my comfortable t-shirts are the Scott Fishbowl. And I can't wear Scott Fishbowl to this. I mean, because everybody will be, and maybe Scott will even be there. And I don't want to meet him and have the shirt on. So what turned out to happen was I saw a big crowd of people, and Scott being kind of tall with his cool bald head, sort of standing out in the room, and he has the Scott Fishbowl t-shirt on, and I think he has it on tonight. I mean,
I have one of them. Yep.
Yeah, I mean that could have happened tonight too. So I intentionally avoided it for that weekend, which probably was overthinking it. Anyway.
It's a lot of people had them on. It's cool to see it. Every time I see one, I know that, 10, 11, 12 bucks went to help some kids from it. And it's fun to see those. I kind of actually love seeing that in public.
That's great. And Adam, you're a competitor this year as well.
I am. I got in, love it. I only had to stalk Scott to like Frisco, Texas to be able to get in. That guy, we were at the FSTA out there in Frisco, and I'm, hey, Scott, I'm Adam. Hey, Adam, how's it going? And we're talking with a couple people, and next you know, I get an email from Scott. I'm invited. I'm like, oh, I just had to travel across the globe. Let's go.
Awesome.
Oh, man, I remember that. Yeah.
Our producer at WGR, Sneaky Joe DiBiase, has a team. He was super happy about that, and he's doing great. He's on the short list of leading scorers for the year. And so I better step up because I got a guy in my own room that's right, kind of outdoing me there. I'll have to settle for 3-2 through 5 weeks.
It's not bad. That's pretty good.
It's not bad.
That's what I'm doing. I'm the lowest scoring team in my division, but I'm 3-2 somehow.
Yeah, one way or another, you got to make that work.
Yep.
So Scott, there's always no special reason for wanting to invite you. I mean, such an icon in fantasy football. But in this case, the Draftsharks Invitational is underway, and you have a first place team. And last week we tried to line you up, and you had a first place team. And I think you said something self-deprecating, maybe about we'll see how long it lasts. But here we are a week later, and you're hanging in.
Yeah, I think I've even expanded my lead in that one, and I did not expect that. I took a look at it, and I'm like, I was thinking to myself, yeah, this could go pretty well. It could go a couple different ways, but it's doing really well. I'm happy with that team. It seems like a few of the teams that I drafted really late seem to be doing really well, and that's one of them. It looks like.
Yeah, it looks. I don't know if you know a lot of these guys, Scott, because I know there are a lot of.
Oh yeah, I know them all.
A lot of high stakes players in here, right? Like Dan's a stud. Jerry won the FFPC main event last year. Theo's a stud. Lord Reeves. Kevin. I think Mike Pareca won the main event maybe 2 or 3 years ago. So obviously all these leagues are stacked. But I
know Billy too. Yeah.
Yeah, Billy. Yeah, Billy's just he's down here at the bottom. I'll have to bust on him a little bit for that. But yeah, no, you're doing really great. Humbling all these guys, and so yeah, let's get into your team here and take a look. Do you remember having any like specific strategy about what you were thinking going into this like Superflex draft?
No, the thing I do really remember is I actually I timed out on my second pick. I was about to make a selection. I want to say it was going to be Russell Wilson, and I ended up landing Derrick Henry instead. And it kind of shifted the way you gotta move on the fly when something like that happens. And I was still able to do okay at quarterback later on. Cousins and Ryan are okay. I picked them for just safe reasons, right? Like they are not the strength of my team, though. That's for sure.
It's working out. Derrick Henry, I'm asking questions by this point of the season. I'm just wondering why I'm not doing better. I'm not doing that badly, but one obvious not problem, but just sort of hole in my game, so to speak, is never having Derrick Henry on my team.
Right.
And here we are again, 5 weeks into this year, and it's just the same, only more with the targets.
Yeah.
And like, come on. So I just feel like one of these years, what I want to avoid having happen, Scott, is one of these years sort of, all right, I give up.
Yeah.
I'll take Derrick Henry. And then that's when sort of the way you think, it's like, that's when it'll be too late.
Yep.
But Henry and Tom Brady are both guys that I just feel like maybe it's better to just avoid them, pick someone else. And here we are again with Henry and Brady, for that matter, just going off.
Yeah, it's you always want to get out a year early. You don't want to hit that, when they hit that wall. But I got lucky with him there. That Henry Kamara corner did well. I mean, Myles Gaskin is working out. Darrell Williams is going to work out now for a few weeks.
Yeah.
This team did pretty decent recently, but I'm with you on the Derrick Henry thing. I never seem to have a whole lot of him out there because of the lack of receptions and all the touches, but he just keeps doing it. And I'm wondering if it's just one of those, I'm going to have just enough exposure to not feel like I'm leaving anything out there.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, I'm totally underweight on Henry this year. And I've come to the conclusion, Mike and I talked about this last week, that every running back in the NFL is going to miss at least 4 games this year, except for Derrick Henry. So like having him on your team, you're already winning just because he's actually playing.
Yep.
Plus they're just okay as a team, so they get into the fantasy playoffs and they need him. Like that game in Houston last year, the year before, where it's like, they're not the Chiefs or somebody that slows down. I mean, they need wins. They're not terrible either, so they keep riding them. Well, there's Mike Williams, Scott. That's one of Adam's keys to success this year in round 10. I get a lot of tweets from WGR listeners and different people. Like I got one today. Look at this team in first place with Mahomes, Hill, and Kelsey. Wow. And Mike Williams is on that team. Like,
yep.
Let's not overthink that either. He has been really a great find this year.
Yep. I missed on a lot of wide receivers, but I managed to hit on him.
That's all it takes.
What was it, Adam? You had to trust his staying healthy, and you don't want to assume the worst necessarily when it comes to injuries. A guy had a history, but doesn't mean it's predictive of anything necessarily. Yeah,
he also had a history of doing well. Like he has a 1,000-yard season. He has a 10-touchdown season.
Yep. And
people forget, or maybe me or something, whatever. Like we forget, like when teams get new coaches, new coordinators, you almost have to like throw past. If you didn't think he was good, well, maybe a new coordinator or a new coach can kind of spice it up a little bit.
Can unlock him.
Exactly. Unlock it. You got to be creative sometimes. You got to, like Sigmund Bloom, like says, he's always like closing his eyes and imagining these scenarios. Like, so you just got to go for it, especially, wide receiver 43 in an offense with a young stud quarterback. Sure. Why not? Take some shots on him and there you go. I think he's number 2, number 1 for fantasy scoring receiver this year.
Yeah, depending on your scoring, he's 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Yep. Good for you. Well, Scott, one thing about your tournament, is famous for is the uniqueness and the creativity within the format. Mm-hmm. And I'm still kind of relatively new to this game. Last year I played in this event for the first time, and the format I think might have been my favorite or up there with yours. Just sort of really makes you think. Do you remember with this one? I mean, you don't have to say yes, but do you remember like how you went about figuring out what to do in this format? Because it really, among these higher stakes or these industry drafts, it seems like the one of the top ones that really even positions out and allow for you to go in lots of different directions.
Yeah, I honestly don't remember like right now in the moment, but I know I do remember taking some time that day before the draft. I remember talking to Ryan McDowell on the phone about it. I remember taking time before the draft to sit down and try to formulate a little of a plan. And like I said, it got spun on its head a little bit with the Derrick Henry pick, which I'm very happy with now. But I'm always going to be a fan of the tight end premium league. Almost all my leagues are tight end premium, so I generally have a fairly decent feel for those. Especially in best ball, I like grabbing a bunch of tight ends that I think can have spike weeks. because it feels like you can get them later than you probably should be able to. A lot of people go early at the studs, and then you can find value with some of those later.
Yeah. How about in yours? You brought in that kicker element this year.
Yeah.
The kicker flex, if that's what you call it. I'm not sure if it is, but
Sure.
What have you seen? Like you wanted to try that and see, whether people would choose to use kickers as an option like that, and what's been happening.
Yeah, that's pretty much they're getting used a whole lot more than I think people thought. I think there are a lot of people that thought they would never try it, and then as the injuries rack up and the bye weeks now are coming, we're going to see more and more kickers in these spots. I mean, last week I even I'm not really a kicker guy, but I've started flexing them because they can get you 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 points, and they just feel, I don't know why, they just feel safer. If you grab a kicker in a high scoring game, it just feels like you're going to get 6, 7, 8 points. Whereas a wide receiver or running back, you don't know if they're going to get 3 for 30 and it'll be less than a kicker,
Right. Adam, have you tried it yet?
Yeah.
Or get hurt. That's right.
Yeah.
Have you tried putting a kicker in, Adam?
I actually drafted Suck Up. I might have started him once. I can't remember, but I've got him there in case I need him, like Scott said.
Yeah, I think I want to try that at some point, but I haven't yet. I also think what is one other thing is cool about your format is the effect incompletions have on scores.
Yeah.
And we were talking about this on WGR today. Go figure, Joe's good. So we brought it up, and Joe wanted to tell us about Lamar Jackson's 65 last night, maybe in your format.
Ridiculous.
Wow.
That was a ridiculous game.
But incompletions are -1 and completions are +0.5, if I have that right.
Yep.
And so a game where, whoever, it could be any quarterback, but when they struggle to get that completion percentage up, again, Jackson, 86% or something. So he did not have this problem.
Yeah.
But, a 19 for 37 is a real blow on your roster.
Yeah, it was designed specifically to separate the tiers between good quarterbacks and bad quarterbacks, and you can't just flex a bad quarterback and be like, oh, I'm going to get my 10, 15, 12, 20 points, whatever, out of a bad quarterback. They could actually hurt you, and we've seen that enough this year. There was a week where I think Zach Wilson had like negative 20 points or something. I think he had negative 12 points, something like that. He had 4 interceptions. Yeah, a bad day can hurt you, and it's kind of interesting playing that way.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, how are you doing overall? Go ahead, Adam. Do you have a question?
I was going to say, you had mentioned earlier about playing a lot of tight end premium. Are those just like kind of the leagues that you put together, Scott, or do you play FFPC at all as far as like the high stakes stuff or anything?
Nope. I actually run leagues, so I'm not able to play an FFPC.
Okay,
but
gotcha.
I would if I could.
That's right.
I love playing. I love playing a lot of those. I love playing a lot of leagues, but most of them are ones I make myself, my own personal ones. I'm in the Sleeper Bowl with AJ Dillon, and I'm in a lot of like analyst type leagues, but
Sure.
A very high percentage of them are tight end premium, anywhere from 1.5 to 2.0.
Yeah, I love tight end premium.
Yeah.
And when we had our first conversation, I want to make sure to bring this up tonight while you're with us. That you stressed take a little off the top for charity.
Yeah.
And that's what your tournament is famous for.
Yeah.
It's giving back. And really, if you think about winning a league and the difference between, I don't know, a $700 win or an $800 win, that kind of numbers in like $100 league or something like that.
Right.
I mean, you're just as happy and you feel that extra bit better because of that donation. So that's a great idea for any group.
Absolutely. Completely agree. I went on shows for years I went on your show and mentioned the take one entry fee and give it to charity from your league, and you won't miss it. It's absolutely a great point.
Right about at that time was when the Bills last played Minnesota.
I don't doubt it. I still have flashbacks of Josh Allen hurdling our defenders.
Yeah, it was Anthony Bard. He just did it again 2 nights ago to some unlucky soul on the Chiefs. I guess, Scott, he turned out.
Yeah, he did. He definitely did turn out. Man, you guys, number one offense and defense right now, it seems like.
That was his first win, his second start, his first win that day in Minnesota. They were 17-point underdogs.
Yep, I remember that.
and won, almost shut the Vikings out in Minnesota, which has not happened since the 60s.
Yeah.
But they scored right at the end. So quite a statement that day.
Yep. It
Well,
was.
Good luck in the Draftsharks Invitational and everything else. We're both, I know, I'm pretty sure I speak for Adam. We're both very grateful to be connected with you and Scott Fishbowl. I hope to be for many years.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll pull up the overall real quick. So Scott's in 5th place overall, feeling good.
Look at third. Look at third.
Listen, we're not going to talk about third. Whatever.
Nice work. Nice
Scott,
work,
I'm always
Adam.
that guy. Scott, I'm the guy who's never even what he can't get lucky. Chad Schrader, I'm never going to catch him. I'm going to be 10 points behind him all year long. That's all I want is yellow on my name.
Look at that list.
It looks good so far, though. Like you're really up there.
Look at there's a Beeb, the 2-time defending football guys champion.
Right.
Cocktails and Dreams, Draft Guy, Elliott, Scott. It's a pretty good list.
Pat Thorman from Established the Run. Yeah, I mean, Ian Hilo, Matt Draft. Yeah, it's
Ian Allen, Hall of Famer. Okay.
That's right. That's right. Awesome stuff. So,
very good.
Yeah, like you said, it's like good luck to you this year, Scott. I know. I was there it was a super amazing experience. I was actually there for your Game Changer Award presented by Matt Berry. It was a very emotional video that they showed, and I know you were definitely feeling it. And congratulations on that award again. That was super, super awesome, and I'm really I was so glad to be able to be there and watch that.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate that. It's things like that. It's only because the industry getting behind these things and supporting them and putting the message out there from their platforms. It's just a wonderful thing.
As you go, you tweeted today that you're about to take your first day off after 4 years. So here you are hanging out with us.
Well, it's a few weeks away, but we got it planned now, so I'm excited.
Very good. Congrats on all your success, and thanks for everything you do for fantasy football.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on. Thanks for you guys Draftsharks inviting me to the Invitational. It's really fun seeing my name on the leaderboard, at least for now. But
I bet it is. Yeah. I bet it is. Thanks. We'll talk soon, I hope.
Yep. Have a good one.
Thanks, Scott.
Bye-bye. Yep. I don't have my light on tonight. I'm just realizing. So I'm here doing calisthenics, trying to get this light on. Am I bright enough? Do you want less of me?
You're bright.
More, or what do you want?
You're bright. You're good. Yeah, that was great having Scott on. It was.
There we go. Now I can. Let's awesome. Do it. Let's do the whole thing over. Let's start again.
Start over. The deep end.
Well,
I love it.
Here we are going into week 6. Adam, you're looking pretty good. I don't know about that yellow. You don't have that yellow yet on the Draftsharks Invitational, but I know you're doing pretty well in some big tournaments.
Yeah, no, it's been a really fun ride so far. I'm just going to pull this up here. Sitting 11th here. Let me see if I can zoom in. You can see way down at 11th there. FP Draft Guy won. This is 11th overall in the main event. So this is the highest I've actually ever been in the regular season. Finished top 5 in the whole thing 2 years ago. But to have a team up here in the top 11, it feels really, really good, to kind of show that this team's got some staying power. Hopefully I see Danny Mueller up there and in first overall, just dominating with 985 points. Hopefully we can, we can hang with him. Yeah, we have 882. Can we look at his team?
He's got more than 100 up on you at 11th.
I know.
I mean, you could almost name that roster. It has to be a certain list of guys. Well, Andrews, I don't know, maybe not.
Yeah,
Henry,
Madison. I have Madison. I wonder if I have Madison on this team, but we can go look. But yeah, Henry, Aaron Jones, Evans, Chase, Antonio Brown. Who knows what his bench looks like too.
Bill's defense. There it is.
Bill's defense. We got a lot of Bill's defense over here on the draft guy squads. But again, it was just. Who would have seen, and then that schedule the Bills have is just so stinking easy. So the Bills defense should be doing well too. But yeah, no, it feels really good to be here. And we scored. I think we scored. I'm trying to click on it. Nothing's. Oh, here we go. Brady, Fournette, Eckler, Mike Williams, Cooper Kupp, Antonio Brown, Boyd Hawkinson. I think I have the Bills defense, or no, I don't have the Bills defense in this one, but And I put in Eckler right now. I already set my lineup. I have Barkley in this league. We scored 205 points with Saquon. So if you had Barkley to that list, I might even be. I'm assuming I would be much higher. But yeah, no, it feels really, really good to have that early 11th place under my belt. It'll be because a lot of these points do matter. Like you carry your league average into the playoffs with you. So it'll be nice to start with that little boost.
Well, there is that. From your experience, can you say anything more about just how sturdy a lead is like that at this stage? There's an extra week this year too. I wonder what it's worth to be in the top 10 or so at this point.
Yeah. I can't tell you. I think I've been in the top. I know I've been in the top 100 before, but I don't remember what like the difference is between first and 100th. I could probably. I'm sure we'll have one of these main event winners on from the Invitational here soon. We can ask them if they remember like what if they were a top 10 team that had a little bit of a lead going in. I mean, listen, the year I came in fifth, the difference between fifth and fourth was I lost fourth place by like 0.05. Mm-hmm. So, just having an average a little bit higher during the regular season would have put me in fourth or third. So,
right.
It certainly makes a difference.
Sorry. Yes. I mean, there are maybe three important things. There's the average, like you're saying, the number you take into the playoffs if you make it.
Yeah.
There's the lead you have in your own group. I mean, you have to make it to have that first thing matter. So you have to have the lead, and this affords you, like Danny at 985. It's a massive lead probably. Plus it's points that he's taking out of his group. If you looked at his standings, it's probably like a big gap. It's still a great score. The third thing is the most important thing, arguably, is the players you have.
Yes.
Injuries can cut any team down, but if you look at a team with Eckler and Mike Williams, especially when you think about who you easily could have picked instead, in terms of Eckler, for example, there were other guys there where you're struggling a little bit, injuries being a part of that. And so your team is the key thing. And even with the variance that we know is fundamental to this game, you have a good looking roster. That's worth something important here too. Obviously, it's because going forward is going to determine how much money you make.
Yeah, and so to one of your points here, so I'm 882 and I'm sitting 71 points ahead of the second highest scoring team. Well, this guy's at 815, so a little bit less than that, but that's cocktails and dreams. It's always hanging around. So, man, imagine having 815 and you're 2 and 3. Oof. So,
it's a lot of teams.
Yeah, I mean, look at this team, Benton County, 4-1. He's got 672. That's second to last. It's crazy how this game works. But, and if you actually go look at the team, so. Yeah, no, it's all about this is fine, right? Look at the starting lineup. Yeah, that looks fine. But you want to go to the bench and really see, like you said, like is your team deep? We got Madison's been great for me. Saquon Barkley obviously was in my lineup. Judy on the IR, he'll be coming back. That'll be nice. Kadarius Toney picked him up a couple weeks ago. He's looking like he's gonna be great. Like you were saying, I can drop Max Williams, I can drop Cephas, and make a play on some of these free agents.
Would you ever put Ertz in to a flex or in place of Hawkinson Thursday night with Goddard out?
That's a great question. I would. Hawkinson's my guy, so it would be tough for me to do that. But man, it would be tempting. I have to go look at I haven't gotten that far yet this week. I would have to go look at the matchups and see because I don't think Goddard's playing.
Right. It's not official that he's out when I say that, but he's on the COVID list, positive test.
Yeah, I'd like to see how the Bucks fare against tight ends and all that type stuff, and see how hurt Hawkinson is. But yeah, no, it's every at this point every point matters, and every roster spot is up for grabs every week. So,
well, I'm really it's going to sound sarcastic because that's how I am, but I really am sincerely very excited for you.
Yes, thank you.
I followed your portfolio, and I'm really excited. And those teams look good. They have the points, and they also have the right depth. Seeing Toney on a roster like that, or seeing Booker on other rosters, some of that stuff is temporary. Toney might not be. So it's great to see. One thing I'm thinking about a lot, my teams are doing less well, and that's how it should be. frankly. But so all this, so much, you have so much time and you have all this to do, right? Not, you have your work, you have your family, and then we have this hobby, this obsession, and we're putting a lot of money into it. And I was thinking today, I thought I maybe arrived at something useful. So Monday night happens, you stay up late. Last night was exhilarating. I mean, I was up past
Yeah.
1, just
Yeah.
looking at scores and processing
Yeah.
it and drinking some wine, just felt great. Then today, work day, kids on the bus, you're trying to find time to do your work, your fantasy work. And it's pretty quickly for me right into week 6. Like it's waivers tonight in MFL or in Yahoo, you kind of get right guillotine, you get right there. And, you have a job and you have other things in your life. So what's missing is going over, for me, what's missing has been going over what just happened, every decision. And look at the number of teams you run out there. You don't really have time to do a lot of this. Why did I make this choice? Who did I hear? Who did I listen to? Or what reasoning did I have? All these sort of things that might have come up and come into your mind and make that decision. And like this was a weekend for me where I got stung on a few coin flips. Like I just had, I played heads and it came up tails. And if you have, I think, a proper team, you're going to have those decisions all the time because you've got some depth and trying to figure out which receivers to play and things like that. They really are close in terms of projections. So I feel like somehow you got to figure out find time to go back and see, well, why did I choose that and what can I learn from it? It seems like that's useful and I do almost none of it.
Yeah, it's really hard. I feel the same way. It's like after a nice week or a nice win on Monday night, I'm up late. I'm waiting for the FFPC to roll over at midnight to get all the records in there and the new point totals and everything. And like I said, just sitting back and looking at the scores. And sometimes I just wish that we could, the season's flying. Like we wait all year for it to get here. And then it's here. And we're like week 6 already because there's Monday night, then there's Thursday night. And it's just, it flies by and you really want to slow down and enjoy it. It is really hard, especially when you've got, I've got 40 plus teams I'm setting lineups for and doing FAAB budgets for and all that stuff. And that's just, the lineup setting and all that. And I feel like it's hard to go back and look at each decision. I mean, I was talking to you guys today or whatever. And going into the Monday night games, I will look and evaluate, okay, how do I think I did going into the Monday night game? And then coming out of the Monday night game, that whole record changed. And it's like, well, I don't even know where it changed. I don't know where I won and where I lost, where I thought I was going to. It's because when there's so many teams, it's hard to evaluate each decision. It's almost when it's when I go back to set the lineups for the next week, when I go and I see who I had in there and I'm going through my, I'm like, oh man, I started this guy over this guy last week. And then that's almost where I take the time to go and evaluate, where I screwed up. Was it a weather issue? Was it a late injury issue? Was it, maybe I underestimated this pass defense or something, and it's just really difficult to do when you're just constantly turning over your roster every single week. And, but it is, like you said, it's very important to do. And it's very important at the end of the season to go back and sit down and evaluate your drafts and what went wrong. And, should I have used this strategy or, stuff like that. You're not going to get better unless you do that. And you can always learn from your mistakes.
The Thursday night game, really, since I've started playing any kind of seriously, the Thursday night game has been there. I'm thinking about what would it have been like in this sort of context before the Thursday night game was every week. And maybe it was a lot different preparation and maybe there's just more time to exhale and, actually live your life. But the Thursday game, just like here's today, we're talking about, I asked you about Zach Ertz, like that's coming tomorrow. It's waiver crunch and then it's lineups and just, there's not Friday and Saturday really are the slow days.
Yes, correct.
And one more quick thing is like you're talking about going through and like, oh, why did I make this mistake? Here, I was sort of tilting on Sunday about choices I made, a couple that didn't work out, but I know I always had reasons. The ones that really hurt are when you miss something, when you start somebody that wasn't active, if that ever happens, or
Sure.
like those are harder to live with. But you have two quarterbacks who projection wise come in pretty close and one hits and one doesn't. That's how it goes. That's what you wanted. Or not, quarterback's not the best position for that example, but it's what you wanted when you built your team. It's important when you do that, I think, for me anyway. If you go through and look at your teams and your results, don't forget to stop and take a minute for the makes and not just the misses.
Yes.
Because the misses are easier to remember. You're watching football on Sunday and you remember, I started this guy and why did I do that? And it just sort of grates on you and it can ruin the whole experience. But there are plenty of those. If they're 50-50 calls, there's lots of those you'll get right. Just as many in theory, but your brain won't remember them or even think about them at all because they don't give you, there's no rush from it. The rush is from winning, and that doesn't provide the rush. The anxiety from the mistake, you're going to, you probably would be able to name, X number of, quote, bad calls or misses in lineups, but I bet you won a bunch of those games. You just missed in that one. So there's no rush for the lineup choice you got right. You have to win the game or even win the league.
Yeah.
But the one you miss, whether you win the game or not, that bothers you. So it's tough to live like that when you're only sort of pushed in one direction with the psychology or the emotion of it. You got to remember that you get a lot of those right too. It just seems like it's needed to do that before you beat yourself up too bad.
Yeah, and a lot of things too is people evaluate your process, right? Like if you as a fantasy football player are just constantly making the wrong lineup decisions, or you're constantly making the wrong decision at receiver, or maybe it's at running back. Like if it's a multi-year thing, evaluate your process of setting lineups. Like for me, I've done that over the years, and I mean, I'll just tell you, I use Draftsharks.com, their rankings, as my guide if I can't decide between a player. And I take the time and I sit down and I read Evan Silva for Established Run. Does a great weekly, right? That's like his thing. And I will, I've been reading it for years. I will literally take an hour out of my day, whether it's Friday or Saturday. Usually it's Saturday night, like everyone's asleep, and I'll go and I'll read his. He does a beautiful write-up of every single game, fantasy-wise, which corners cover in the slot receiver and all that, and that's my thing. Like that's what gets me locked in. That's what I trust. And so I read that article. I use Draftsharks, and that's done good for me because I know I'm weak at lineup setting compared to, like, I think I'm a way better drafter than I am at setting lineups when it comes to these 50-50 calls. So I kind of trust the people that do this for a living.
Well, I love this conversation. 50-50 calls, we're both calling them. Do you think you get 50% right? Do you think you get more than 50% right? Because I think you kind of said you think you get less than 50% right. Like, why would you get less?
So I think that I can't, unfortunately, I can't, like, I can think, like you said, I can think of the bad beats, right? Like I can think of last year, I didn't make the fantasy playoffs in the main event on an absolutely stock loaded team because I had like 4 great flex options every week. And I picked the 2 bottom. I picked number 3 and number 4 every week. And I was punished for it every single week. I never got lucky. I always lost. And it cost me a lot of money. And I had to you have to just evaluate like man, if I would have just flipped a coin, I would have done better than trying to overthink it. And now this year, this is the most teams I've ever managed. I just have gone into it as a humble, like I need to just trust the analysts who do this stuff. I mean, obviously I'm making the selections, but I'm really leaning on all the hours and all the podcasts, Ian Hartitz, the Pro Football Focus podcast. I listen to all that stuff. Dwayne McFarland, like just soak it in, let them, kind of do all the work for you, and then just trust your instincts. You know what I mean? So
that point is I'm so fascinated by it because I feel like this is a boat ride, where when I started, I was 100% just like that. Who am I to think I know anything more than the industry?
Right.
So the industry will tell me this guy is 17 points, that guy is 16 points. The answer is 17 points.
Right.
And that's it. And I would never make my own decisions. 5 years later, I only want to make my own decisions because I am consuming so much material that when it comes down to it, and this is really just like a very recent decision that I've made where I'm going to just put it all away when it comes time to setting the lineups, and I'm just going to decide. And there's a lot to remember. Format varies, the rest of your roster, floor versus ceiling, all those kinds of things. As long as you can sort of keep those right at the tips, your fingertips, like remember that stuff. Don't rush and forget them. Then I think you can do okay. But I think philosophically where I should be is that the wave is the other way where you were. That's why I thought of a boat, which is like everybody else has done the work. That's where I sort of started in fantasy.
Yeah.
What happened to me like 5 years ago, I got into some good leagues, nothing like the main event, but I was playing what I thought was good competition. And I was that way. Like, I'm just going to go with whatever the book tells me, and I did well, but it wasn't playing against you. I mean, it wasn't playing against guys who do this 80 teams and whatever. Like, you have the large numbers part of this too. So I don't know. I don't want that to be oscillating forever. I want to eventually get to one particular way of making decisions. And I guess I'm not there yet.
Yeah. And I think you have to also, kind of my last point is you have to find the right people, like for you, like, the people that you trust, the people that fit the way you, that help you, maybe not fit the way you think, but that help you, guide you, you might, and you won't know until it works, right? Like until it's a multi-week or a multi-year process where, okay, reading this and doing that. And, maybe this site really helps me on the receivers and this site really helps me on the running backs, I think that's the way to go once you find that niche. And maybe at the beginning you weren't trusting the right people or whatever, it's a learning process. It's, you meet new people come into the industry, it's a thing. And I think that, that so far this year, I've done pretty well on these coin flips. And I've also had some really, teams where I really haven't had tough decisions. The tough decisions are now with the injuries and the bye weeks and now you're choosing from your sixth and seventh receiver. Like, my God, what do I do? So it's still early in the season.
Can I give you one quick example?
Yes.
Because I really do need to say it out loud. It's tough. Last week I lost one because I started Lance over Brady.
Oof.
And the projections, everything that I saw was like, that's close enough.
Sure.
Where you could do it. And I had an idea of how the Dolphin Buccaneer game would go.
Yep.
Which was Miami would be inept.
Yep.
And Tampa would play a serious half and maybe have a 28-7 kind of lead. And then take it easy from that point. They play on Thursday night. Gronkowski isn't there. Miami is kind of in disarray. And so I saw Brady having sort of a muted game. And Lance, for me, the floor was that game. And the ceiling was the moon.
Yeah.
Against an Arizona team that wasn't great. And, I didn't like the Kittle. I thought about the Kittle news being a problem for Lance. But still, I decided I was going to go against Brady because of the matchup. I probably had memories of bad Brady games in Miami playing for New England working on me that shouldn't have mattered at all. So that's what I did. And the difference was 24 points, maybe 25 points. But
now, do you, and this has happened to me, but before, do you think about the rush of picking, were you thinking about man, if I take Lance over Brady and I'm right, I'm just going to be pounding my chest? Did that factor in at all? Because that used to be a thing. I say used to, probably even last year. Man, I'm just because I need to be right. I want to be more right than all these rankers and analysts that do this. So I'm going to take the guy because I want I'm not saying it in a bad way. In
Yep.
like a, this is my team. I want to do what I want to do. Does that play into it at all?
No.
Okay.
Let's call that hero ball.
Right. That's right.
Right? Like you're trying to be the hero, and you can say I did this, but I feel like when somebody tells me they picked some crazy underdog over a favorite and were right, and that they knew something, I tend to roll my eyes. Maybe I don't want them to see me do it, but like, just shut up. You didn't know that. You just guessed and you were right. And good for you. But no, I'm totally not that type. What I
Is
want.
that like a guy staying on 14, Mike? Is that what that is?
Yeah. But as far as not as far as no, like I want optimal, but I thought that was reasonable. It was not, let's just shock the world and start Lance over Brady, and then I can come on the deep end and talk about how I did that.
Sure.
No, I would never have taken any credit for it.
Yeah.
It really was, to me, very objective. And I saw the Tampa game going differently and, being more of a running game and everything I said. And instead, he's hitting Brown for big touchdowns. And, he didn't need Gronkowski in the red zone. They weren't in the red zone.
Right. That's right.
He hit Brown and Evans against some of the league's best corners, and they broke plays.
Yeah.
And so I think the reaction I don't want to rationalize it. The reaction to that is, okay, Tom Brady's still amazing. Well, he's amazing, but I still think that wasn't exactly how that should have gone.
Sure. So,
and Lance didn't murder you. He still came in at whatever, like Cousins or somebody like that. He didn't murder you.
Right.
He got stopped on 4th and inches at the 30. He got stopped at 4th and inches at the 1.
Yeah.
And, it's a different everything if that doesn't happen. And that's
correct.
That is fantasy football.
Yeah. If he gets 6 more points on that goal line, I mean, who knows where he ends up?
Yeah. I mean, it looks bad. It sounds bad. Why I like talking about it is how bad it sounds. All right. That is not going ham. Did we just go ham? I don't know if maybe you and I went ham on that subject. I really enjoyed that.
We did.
I heard you talk about going ham. I'm hearing more and more people say it. I am in my 40s, and I want to know like where this started.
Me too. So my cousin, I got to be honest, my cousin, Matty Boy, the one who put all that money on Kansas City, and was at the fight in Vegas, he has been saying going ham for years. And I only say it kind of when I'm talking to him or around him or whatever. So like, I don't know, shout out to my cousin Matt, but I think it just means going wild, going crazy. I don't know. I have no idea why it means that.
Do you know anything about the origin?
No, nothing.
Okay. Well, I won't make you guess.
Do you know?
Yes.
Oh, perfect.
Think sex.
Oh, that's easy.
Okay. All the effort. You're just going ham. For the rest, you can look it up. All right. Well,
okay.
Just thought it was fun to mention going ham.
I will look it up now.
I'm hearing that on seemingly every show I listen to. What do we want to do? We talked for a while about process, and I enjoyed that, as I said a couple times. What do you want to do about week 6?
We'll talk real quick.
Waivers?
Real quick about week 6, and maybe we'll go over a couple of waiver guys. Week 6 all play. So this is a new thing for the FFPC. I don't know if the other sites are doing it, but maybe they are. But so in the FFPC main event and the Football Guys Players Championship, the two tournaments that they have, it's always been 11 regular season weeks because there's 12 teams in a league. So you play your team 12 and you play team 1 through 11. And so you play everybody one time, and then you get into your league playoffs, 12 and 13, and then 14, 15, 16 for the big race. So everything was even and beautiful. The NFL added an extra week of games. So instead of having to play another team in your league an extra time, which can be an unfair advantage or disadvantage if you have to play like a really good team or a really bad team, they decided to do an all-play week. I don't know why they picked week 6, maybe because it's in the middle, but they're doing an all-play week, which is week 6, where you're essentially playing everybody, but the top 6 teams scoring in the league get a win, and the bottom 6 teams in scoring get a loss. So I just thought it was really interesting, and I think the only strategy thing I can think of as far as lineup setting would be to maybe go with a safer player rather than a higher upside player because I guess it depends on your roster, right? So like me, I've got a lot of teams that are really good in scoring. Like I have a bunch of teams that are like 4th in scoring, 3rd in scoring, but they're 2 and 3, right? So I'm really looking forward to this week to be able to score in the top 6 again and actually get a win this time. So if I have a really good team like that, I might play it safer. Just take a guy that is going to like I always use Cole Beasley as an example for this, but not this year. But a guy that can get you 12, or that you know is going to get you 12 or 13.
Marvin Jones.
Sure. There you go. Someone's going
Not
to
that he did either last week.
Right. Right. Not Visca either. So
no. Who was the right name? Who was the 2021 name for that? I don't even know.
I don't know. But someone that's going to get you 12 or 13, rather than someone that's got, a floor of 5 and a ceiling of 25. But if I'm maybe one of those teams that's in 11th or 12th or 10th, and I really, really need this win bad, and my team isn't very good, maybe I just take the higher upside guy and try to shoot to get it in the top 6. So that's all I have for strategy. Maybe it's the lineup setting, but I've been looking forward to this all season because I really think that, the team
favors better players.
It favors better teams. Exactly. It favors better teams.
It does. I do think you're right that you might want to emphasize floor a little bit. It's almost like a double up in DFS where 6th pays the same as 1st. You still get the points. You still want points. So you don't want to forget about that.
Yes.
Which might lead you to, I don't want to play it differently at all, but it might depend on your record a little bit. Like I've got a couple teams that are decent, but losing. And so I need wins in a couple of cases. I'm not sure that'll change anything for me, but it might.
So I've got in this team that we showed earlier. I mean, this might be a bad example because he had we about like a Tyler Boyd for your safe guy versus like a Kadarius Toney, right? So that's like an option where Toney could blow up for 30 because he's been just so good. He had 30 last week, whereas Boyd's going to get you 12. You know what I mean? So,
this is really interesting. Everybody I'm thinking of, including Boyd and Jones and Beasley, I guess, like are not right. The guys I'm thinking of are like the more elite players, McLaurin and guys that are just like supposed to be above that. But McLaurin had a huge game. That doesn't really work either. The guys I want for this point, like an automatic 12 to 15 points.
Yeah,
are guys you drafted 3 rounds or 4 rounds earlier than the likes of
exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like if I have McLaurin, I'm not. Yeah, this is for like that
right.
last flex spot.
McLaurin doesn't work because you're already playing him.
Right.
But like Robert Woods isn't quite as consistent as we're used to. Hopkins is somebody who's more like what Tyler Boyd has been.
Robert Woods is a great. I mean, we just keep adding topics to the deck. Robert Woods. So let me get this straight. So the only thing that matters is just that the coach wants to get a player the ball. Is that what? Because everybody, I don't want to say everybody knew, but like Robert Woods all week, squeaky wheel. Okay, he's going to blow up. Why? Why is he going to blow up this week? Oh, because the coach wants to get him the ball. Well, why doesn't he always want to get him the ball? Look how great he did. Like, it's just like
that is the McVay, Shanahan, Reed. There's certain guys who think, and they're often right, that can work for them, that they can do that. Woods was so open the whole game. Woods had 9 or 10 catches, and they're throwing him the ball 20 yards downfield, and no one's there.
I know.
I mean,
were you the one who brought up the point? It was a great point that there's only a handful of teams though that are capable of just providing those type of points for whoever they want.
Yeah, like it's sort of a coach hubris thing, I think. But again, they're often right. They get the affirmation. If the whole point of it wasn't the whole point, but if the idea was let's feed Robert Woods in this game because we haven't for a while, they did super successfully. They won, and he's happy, and that's good for the overall. So there was a benefit to it. I mean, some teams can't pull that off. Some coaches would never. Some coaches would consider it offensive to even like have the topic. Like. Why are you talking to me? That's not how this works.
That was like Sammy Watkins in Buffalo, like the guy with 8 targets again. Like, what are you doing?
I know.
And then every time he got 12, he blew up. It's like,
right. Seattle. I mean, what's going on with Seattle for years now? Just defense is terrible. Isn't that their trademark? And they were supposed to play faster this year. Yeah, they're supposed to play faster this year, and they're the slowest. And now Wilson, I hope they lose all the time now. I mean, nothing against Geno or the guys. Like I sort of like the idea of Geno Smith doing well,
Yeah,
but man, it is long overdue for Seattle to get served.
I know. Just awful. I mean, yeah, awful coaching. He's been blessed with
Wilson.
with Russell Wilson, but
Now he
absolutely
doesn't have Wilson. They should lose every week.
correct. Yeah, with Geno Smith there, you're going to see what this coaching staff's all about. And I'm not even going to blame the offensive coordinator because he might have come in and said, "Yeah, I want to do it this way," and Carroll's like,
Right.
No. Like,
Right. This has happened a little bit before with Seattle. We thought we knew something and then we didn't.
Yeah.
And that's a good point.
Yeah.
Well, wow, what a fun night. Free agent targets. Once I turned the light on, but
That's right.
Scott Fish before that was Scott Fish, also great.
The light went on here. That's right.
The moth joke. Check out the moth joke tonight. The light. I won't say anything more.
Oh, what's his face?
Norm Macdonald.
Yeah, that's right. That was a funny joke. So what do you think? We got everyone at this point's probably looked at some information on waivers and who to pick up and stuff like that. And there's been some discussion. Darrell Williams or Devontae Booker. I've seen a lot of like, hey, if I got to pick one with my probably not FAAB budget, but more like with my waiver priority, Darrell Williams or Devontae Booker. Williams is going to get more weeks, I think.
Me too.
Me too.
No, I agree. I agree.
Okay. Yeah.
But
so he'll get 3, but McKinnon is there, and some people think McKinnon might be the cheaper and better selection. But Booker played well, played fine, scored 20 fantasy points. Maybe he only gets you a week or 2 of better production than Williams would get you. And I'm hearing Mack might be on the way to Kansas City. They've been kind of kicking the tires on Marlon Mack. So if I had to choose between the two, I would go with Booker. Well, what do you think, Mike?
Williams, but it really depends. I think it depends on what your team situation is.
Sure.
We have a lot of information now on your team's record, your team's roster. I think Barkley is probably not out for that long.
Right.
That's just me reading everybody and coming to that conclusion. I'm not telling you something original.
Yeah.
But my chips are on that it's a couple of weeks or one.
Yeah, I think he'll miss 1 week. I mean, I don't
it's the Rams.
Yeah. It's the Rams the second week.
It's the Rams this week, and they may not have their quarterback. So I don't think I want to load up on Devontae Booker. The other team is Andy Reid against the worst defense in the league that isn't theirs, Washington.
Right.
And Williams plays anyway. So I think Kansas City does bring in a running back at midseason because they always do.
Yeah.
But I wish they had, like Josh Gordon, we'll see what happens there. Watching that game against the Bills, like they should have somebody good.
I know.
Like actually good to pivot to when it isn't going well for Hill and Kelsey. There's a lot more to say, a lot more to come with the Chiefs, but they just kind of blew it.
I felt the same way against the Bills last year. Like they just couldn't rely on any running back when they needed him. This year, Moss has been fine. Singletary's been okay. They're running much more efficiently. Knox is in there, so he's able to block and catch. So yeah, I feel the same way. Kansas City once you slow down Kelsey and Hill, which is not easy to do. Well, apparently cover 2. Cover 2 is the way to go.
Come on. No, right? Like wherever is that good second wide receiver on an Andy Reid Chiefs team that is there for the 9 for 100 on the nights when the other things aren't going well? Like you got Patrick Mahomes, you can't get to that. But it's always so easy on the deep end. But I mean, maybe Gordon turns into that player, but
Sammy Watkins was that guy, and they let him go.
They had their moments with Sammy Watkins. He couldn't stay on the field. How does Sammy Watkins hurt his hamstring on a play Monday night where he gets hit in the ribs, runs backwards 5 yards to give up the first down and falls to the ground? Like,
has the first down. And then
what happened exactly on that one?
And then he ran that drag route earlier in the game, looked explode. I'm like, oh my, that's Sammy. He is flying.
That's how he got drafted 4th. He's super big and fast, and he got everything. He's got all the tools, but there are these plays where you just can't figure them out.
I know.
Tight end target. So you've mentioned Booker and Williams. That's good.
Another guy, two other quick running backs. It's always running backs. We always want Khalil Herbert out carried Williams there in Chicago. He was the guy we mentioned last week. Like, hey, go for Williams, but also go for Herbert. Like,
I picked up a lot of Herbert last week.
Awesome, yeah. You just never know if he's still available. Try to snag him, and then a guy that I took all off season. I never let him go. I couldn't do it. I'm too prideful. Ramondre Stevenson, he might be the starter this week. Who knows how long Damien's out there? So he might be a guy. They finally activated him. He might be a guy that gets some run. I don't think they have a good matchup this week, but I think the week after that they do.
It's Dallas this week.
Dallas this week. They're probably going to have to throw, so he's probably not going to get a lot of touches. But I think the week after they have a pretty good matchup, and he's a guy that I think's got some talent, and the coaches were raving about him a couple weeks ago. So we'll see. He's a guy that if he is available, go snag him up for a couple bucks, because this, you know how the Patriots do it. They might find a guy midseason and roll with him the rest of the year.
Yep. They will always split it up, you know. But
there's always guys, pass catcher there, yeah.
And Taylor doesn't seem to rate. You know, we talked about how that game when White got hurt, they didn't throw to Taylor. He was active,
right?
And then he was sort of a Gaga waivers pickup the next week, but it was already sort of shown, I think, that they didn't want him. And even then, it's a pass catching option. So I know running back, you're just trying to take whatever you can get.
Right.
But Stevenson, I'll rubber stamp what you said on that. It's possible. Harris had a touchdown, and then he had another one that they reversed, which without the evidence that he didn't make it. Like that was frustrating for me with Harris. Like he was in, but they reversed it. So he was sitting on 2 touchdowns in the first half of that game. Instead, it's a fumble, which, it's Belichick, and an injury. So he's not supposed to be out long. And I think he still serves a purpose to the Patriots in games when they have the game script right. And they have plenty of those games coming up. They'll play the Jets and the Dolphins again. And, they should be not dead in that area. So Harris isn't dead.
No, certainly not. And then the tight end, like you said, the tight end that I'm going to be looking for is Dan Arnold. So he's a guy that they just got there. He had 8 targets. Why throw? Why throw to LaVisca when you can throw to Dan Arnold?
Super job. 8 targets, 37-19. Super job. They're asking Urban Meyer why was so and so on the field. He's like, I don't really micromanage the lineup.
Oh, really?
He didn't know who's on the field. He basically said it wasn't his job to know that.
He's a college coach, Mike.
College coach. How did he ever get a college job?
They just get the guys there because they sit at the table across from these guys' mothers and convince them to send them to Ohio State.
Well, let's not go down that road. But just an awful job there. He might not win a game.
No,
they go to London now. He goes to London.
Is there a London game this week?
Miami, Jacksonville, as Bills guys. So we got. If you can just take the time for the whole thing, like a free Sunday, 9:30 in the morning. The Sunday night game ended at 12:31.
Wow, yeah, it was
Bills
late.
Chiefs, 15 hours and 1 minute. It's the longest day of NFL football ever.
Sensational.
This week, the Bills play Monday.
Yes.
So there's another London game, and then 1 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and then 8 o'clock is Seattle-Pittsburgh. So if you can hack it, that's another very long day without the Bills. Well, last week the Bills were the Sunday night. I do the Bills post-game show when they play at 1 o'clock, which they almost always have for the last 20 years. That means I go in or go to the stadium in the morning, and then I'm there all day, and I lose most of the day in this way. But when they're not in that spot or they're not playing at all, week 7 is their bye, by the way. Another week where you have, if this is not an inappropriate word for it, the freedom to watch all these other games and sort of hang out.
That's a fine word. That's a
not
fine
have
word.
Professional responsibilities or team loyalty responsibilities, whatever the case may be. Okay.
That's right.
Thank you, Scott Fish. Adam, keep it up.
Hey, I'm going to try. I'm going to keep grinding, keep plugging away.
Keep grinding. There it is. Going ham. Adam Krautwurst.
I can't wait to look it up.
I'm Mike Shope. Thanks for watching The Deep End. Thank you, Adam Krautwurst. Good luck in week 6.
Go Red Sox.